I'm an identical twin, and have been asked all manner of utterly ridiculous questions about it throughout my life. But I think the stupidest was when a girl once asked me, "Do you ever get yourselves mixed up with each other?" I responded, "Are you asking me if I ever sometimes think I'm my brother?" She replied, "Yeah. No. I don't." Going through security and the person says I need to show a different form of ID. I ask why, because I gave them my driver's license. They say I need a US document, like a green card or something. I'm a US citizen. Then I realized. I explained how District of Columbia is long for DC. Like Washington, DC. As in the capital of our country. I can't use this, I'm left-handed. It was a fucking shovel, and I was the idiot that thought a left-handed shovel existed. I work for Parks Canada in Yoho National Park. I have been asked the question, seriously, where do you keep the animals at night? Twice in my career. To this day I still find great joy imagining what they thought was going on each night, as we collected every large animal in the parks. The time I watched someone who had missed their exit on the highway stop on the shoulder, back up, turn around, and go up the entrance ramp. I could not fucking believe it. Edit. A couple of fun details about this incident to really highlight its stupidity. Asterisk, the next exit was a few miles up the road. Going to that exit and then turning around might have delayed their drive by 15 minutes tops. Asterisk, there was no traffic ahead. Asterisk, I watched this person do this as I was coming down that same entrance ramp to get onto the highway. When a dumb as a brick girl that I went to high school with asked our history teacher if she'd ever owned a slave. Edit. I'm aware slavery exists today. This was in the context of the American Civil War. Slavery is not legal in the United States.
Oh.
Back when the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster happened, we were discussing how the reactor had failed in a science class. 5 minutes into the conversation, a girl piped up and said, "I don't see what the big deal is. Why can't we just regrow it?" She deadass thought a nuclear power plant was a plant. Knew a girl in middle school that didn't understand the concept of perspective. She also thought north was whichever direction you were facing at the time. My friend is allergic to walnuts. One day, he made this sandwich in our college dorm. It had walnuts garnished on top of the bread. I then remember him telling me, "Oh look, there's walnuts on here," and proceeds to eat the entire sandwich. At the time I didn't know he was allergic. I leave to shower, and when I come back there are 2 paramedics in our dorm taking him out on a stretcher. The following day I asked what happened, to which he replies something along the line, "I accidentally ate some walnuts, which I'm allergic to, and by the time I went to get a Benadryl, my throat had started to close and I couldn't swallow it, so I had to call 911. I was just utterly shocked how he even let this entire situation happen. I really couldn't believe it. College days, am I right? Edit. He knew he was allergic to walnuts, but he's very careless, so it was one of those YOLO moments. Luckily I don't think he did that ever again. I used to work with a girl who was sweet, but so dumb. We were in a meeting once and somehow someone mentioned baked ham. My manager said, "Ugh, I hate ham. It looks like human flesh." The girl I mentioned was sitting next to me, and looked horrified, and whispered, "Does ham really come from people?" I was friends with a guy who believed those fake Apple adverts like Apple Wave microwave your phone for instant battery charge. I was so dumbfounded that he actually fell for it. When I saw him the week after, and he had a new phone, it all clicked for me. How much is a $50 worth? She was the newest teller my boss hired. We'll never forget that moment. Someone in my history class argued that Mussolini was a type of pasta. This was my first experience in retail, where I learned what many customers would be like. Seasons were changing, so we put a lot of shirts we had to get rid of in the front, and made them 50% off. I was working the register when a woman came up to buy her things. I rang her up and could see a look on her face like something was wrong. That's when the following happened. "Lady, why is this so much?" "Me, pardon me?" "Lady, this should only be $10, not $20. I thought that maybe her item was on sale, so I asked if she could point out the sign, because I wasn't aware of it. It was a small store, and we didn't have to walk anywhere. "Lady, this sign here." "Me, this sign says that all shirts are 50% off." "Lady, yes, so why is this full price?" "Me, this is a hat." Watching a man try to open the locked front door of my shop while a bright red closed sign was literally inches from his face. He kept looking at the door like it was just stuck. Summer camp counselor made all the kids on a school bus keep the windows up on a hot day because they could feel the air conditioning coming from the front of the bus. It was so hot and I, maybe 10 years old at the time, had to explain to the 40-year-old counselor that the air conditioning they were feeling was the wind coming in through the bus driver's open window. She still didn't believe me. I begged her to ask the bus driver to confirm the bus did not have air conditioning, but she didn't want to bother him while he was driving. It was like a 1-hour bus trip. She finally got hot enough and asked the bus driver if the bus had air conditioning. And he jokingly said the bus only has air conditioning when the windows are down and the wheels are turning. She then looked back at me and said, "See? I told you the bus had air conditioning," and proceeded to force us to keep the windows up. At the time I was working at a grocery store that had a Coinstar machine. Basically, you could place all of your unwrapped change in it, and it would be converted for a small fee that you could use for actual cash. I was walking past and noticed a woman struggle with the machine. I stopped to help her. Turns out she had accidentally hit Spanish as a language selection. I quickly explained what she needed to do, figuring she couldn't read Spanish. We were in the US, and this is where her struggles came from. So I run through how it works and show her where the receipt will print out that she can turn in at customer service for the cash. She turns and looks at me and says, "But I don't want Spanish money." Sigh, then I have to explain to her that she would get paid in US dollars. Not me, but a friend worked in a call center for a CC company in the disputes department. The number one item people called to say they never purchased. Interest charge. A friend didn't have coins for a vending machine, but did have $1. She folded up the dollar and forced it into the coin slot, and then did not understand why she did not get her item. For me, I had a concussion and was getting X-rays taken. They gave me a lead blanket to wrap around my twig and berries. I took it and wrapped it around me like a cape. I could not understand what they wanted me to do. We were talking about the Irish potato famine in college, and this one girl said, "Oh wow. I thought it was the potato family." As if that wasn't enough, she later asked why were they so eager to get jobs. If I was that hungry, I wouldn't even try to get a job. Man, I wish I was joking. Ex-flatmate cancelled the gas and electricity contract because it was too expensive. Wondered why we had no more electricity nor gas. She thought we paid €90 a month to get a hotline 24/7 in case of problem. I was once asked how it felt to come to the US as a refugee. I'm from Germany. She then looked rather surprised when I told her that Hitler has been dead for 75 years, and that Germany is one of the more liberal countries in the world these days. She full-on thought I fled Nazi Germany. There was a girl in my high school who forced the teacher to pause a documentary about people living in mud huts in Africa, because she was upset that they were showing us fictional movies in a history class. It took everyone else in the room to convince her that people actually live like that in some places. Wealthy area living for ya. I worked at a restaurant, and we had a dish that was just a whole grilled chicken, chopped into pieces. A woman who ordered for delivery called us, absolutely scathing, complaining that her order of one whole chicken only contained TWO chicken breasts. Had to explain to grown-ass woman that chicken only have 2 breasts. Edit. To clarify, the rest of the chicken was also there. She was just expecting more than 2 chicken breasts. She stated this clearly to both me and my manager, who she insisted she speak to over this inconvenience.
Oh.
We asked our classmate to prove she knew the 7 continents. Her list went like this: North America, Europe, China, the Pacific Ocean? I shit you not.
Oh.
Had someone asked me, is Europe on Earth?
Yeah.
I had to explain to a woman that apples did not contain any gluten, meat, or dairy ingredients. How can one think apples contain dairy? She thought gluten was found in every major grain, and that apples were a grain because they have seeds.
Oh.
Once in middle school, I simply could not get the concept of the phrase "the day after tomorrow" through to a kid. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. Edit. It's swell that many of you know the word overmorrow. I am proud of you. This incident was decades ago. I won't be sharing overmorrow with him anytime.
Yeah.
I got a concussion a while back. A friend of mine told me not to come close because it might be contagious. They weren't kidding.